And we want to stay on that story tonight. Hundreds of Kenyans have been lured to the ongoing Ukraine-Russian war, leaving families in distress following reports of deaths in the battlefields. Since Citizentv first exposed the story, many families have come out to look for answers. But months later, the government is yet to tell Kenyans what really transpired, apart from one suspect who was arrested and taken to court. Tonight, we expose the inside networks, how government officials from the Department of Defense, Immigration, DCI, and the Ministry of Labor have been aiding the export of Kenyans to the Russian war. Here is Citizentv's investigative reporter, Ode Francis, on tonight's special feature, The Russian Syndicate.
On October 11th, 2025, an investigation by Citizentv exposed a syndicate many Kenyans would hardly believe.
Nilitoka na tourist visa. Nikiambiwa nikifika huko natafutiwa kazi.
Young men were being recruited and flown to Russia, not for jobs, not for studies, but to fight as soldiers in the ongoing war against Ukraine. What began as a shocking revelation has since unfolded into a trail of anguish. For months, we have continued to document the pain, the unanswered questions, and the growing fear that more Kenyans would be trapped in a war far from home. The government has remained largely silent, issuing brief, careful worded statement offering little clarity about the network behind the recruitment. For weeks, we have been tracing one man believed to be at the center of this operation, the man who insiders say secured the deal to send Kenyans to fight for the Russian army. For his own safety, we will refer to him as Reds. In exclusive conversations, Reds made explosive claims. He alleges that very senior individuals within government structures are aware of and possibly involved in the export of Kenyan fighters to Russia. It all began with a phone call in December 2024. On the other end of the line, a Russian national who introduced himself as Mike, a man we have now established to be Mikhail Lyapin. Investigations show Lyapin was operating in Kenya and was in a company of another Russian national, identified as Dmitry, a man said to have links with the Kenyan embassy. Their pitch was direct. Recruit young Kenyan men, facilitate their travel to Russia, and deploy them into the Russian army. A deal dressed as opportunity, but one that Red says he immediately knew was dangerous. Still, he took it up.
Well, on the issue of Russian recruitment, I have one friend by name Mike.
According to our findings, Reds began reaching out to contacts within Kenya security establishment. His search led him to a senior officer at the DOD headquarters.
The opportunity was they needed to recruit trained ex-military personnel who can join the Russian army. The specification was strictly someone had to be from the forces, or from the police, or either having basic paramilitary training like the NYS. At that time, when you approached me, I had a contract of recruiting security guards to Qatar and Dubai, which I had quite deployed a good number.
In April 2025, Reds convened a meeting at a popular entertainment joint along Mombasa Road, where they presented details of the Russian deal, an arrangement the army brigadier promptly accepted.
When he asked me about that, I told him the best thing I could do is to find some friends from the defense forces and ask them how that can be done. So I approached a few friends in the Department of Defense, and they told me it was something possible, they could give it a trial. One of the friends that I actually went to ask, the first guy, he told me that's a deal. Yeah, ni biashara hiyo letter. So I linked them with the guy, with the Russian guy.
Then Reds relayed positive feedback to Russian Mike, informing him that the army brigadier had agreed to join the deal. The next individual they contacted was another high-ranking officer at the DCI headquarters. The DCI officer also quickly accepted the deal. At this point, the Russian deal had secured the endorsement of high-ranking officers at the DoD and at DCI headquarters. Reds returned feedback to Mike saying that both had accepted the deal. The next connection to cover up the syndicate was top Ministry of Labour officials who were the link to the travel and labour export agencies, and the Association of Skilled Migrants Agencies of Kenya ASMAC chairman Francis Wahome was looped in and endorsed the deal. The Immigration Department was the next government agency to be drawn into the syndicate. These officials were the first to reach an agreement with the Russian operative, Mikhail. Their role in the deal was straightforward: to turn a blind eye to the recruitment activities while facilitating the transportation of Kenyans to the Russian army. Citizentv has established that bribe package for the syndicate was structured per individual transported to Russia. Labour officials received 5,000 shillings per person. DCI officer at the airport received 20,000 shillings per person, and immigration officers received a staggering 50,000 shillings per person. This is the message that those who wanted to travel to Russia received upon enquiry. It read age between 21 to 47 years with no diseases, physically fit and willing to work in the army, understanding the risk of the job of a soldier in the army in the Ministry of Defense of Russia on a contract basis on a period of 1 year. Conditions of the offer were a one-time bonus of 1.6 million shillings, agency services fee of 650,000 shillings, which included airplane tickets, visa, transport, accommodation, food and full support till successful employment. The job had a monthly salary of 280,000 scalable.
So all the documentation, the visas, the air tickets, the invitation letters and everything were fully arranged by Mike. Yeah. So what was basically happening from our side, various agents and various people, was just a referral. You make a referral to this guy does all the other processes until someone travels.
We sampled over 10 text WhatsApp messages of this nature, and all recipients of these messages acknowledged the risk and replied by being ready and willing to join the Russian army. We proceeded to determine whether the individuals were coerced. The videos shared with the recruiter followed a standardized format in which participants acknowledged the risks involved in joining the Russian army. We collected more than 15 videos, all recorded by Kenyans who voluntarily chose to travel.
I want to get a job in the Russian army.
I want to get this job in Russian army.
I understand the risks of working in the army.
That's why I've been passionate to serve the military all my life.
I am an ex-KDF police.
I understand all the risks associated with working in the army.
I am asking your company to assist me to go through enrollment procedure to join the army of the Ministry of the Defense of Russian Federation.
Assist me on how to join the Russian army in the ongoing recruitment.
Because they have strong army, I am asking your company to assist me to go through enrollment procedure.
I want to get a job in Russian army, and I understand all the risks associated with the working in the army.
A significant number of inexperienced Kenyans were sent to serve on the Russian front line.
However, I'm aware that quite a number of guys traveled who had no experience. And these guys, most of them faked that they were trained and they were ex-military guys. And to that effect, this guy, the Russian, was recording a lot of videos, video interviews related to experience. And you can see clearly from the videos, the guys are confirming to him that they are well trained, or rather they are ready for the task. Yes, so that's how they ended up joining.
Our investigation revealed that after the visa processing, which took 7 days, the recruits were housed in accommodations at various locations, including Great Wall Gardens in Mavoko, Kiserian, Roysambu and Nyayo estates. While there, they were shown combat videos to prepare them for what to expect in Russian training, alongside lessons in Russian language.
During the accommodation period, these guys were being taken through a thorough training of what to expect, basic learning of Russian language, and they were actually being shown the combat training videos of what they expect to meet once they arrive in Russia.
Citizentv obtained over 100 e-visa issued up to 10th October 2025 from the Consular Department of the Russian Federation's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. These documents could not have been issued without the involvement of the Kenyan government. We investigated further for any agreements between Kenya and Russia on labor export and discovered a document file number 1971 at the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, issued by the Embassy of the Russian Federation. The document confirmed that Kenyan citizens were eligible for electronic visa to enter Russia, indicating that the Kenyan Ministry of Foreign Affairs was aware of the travel. This plan had been in motion since December 2024. Another critical document in our possession is this document from Russian government, identified as Center for Development of Economic, Culture, Social Ties, Trade and Business Relations with African Countries, signed by its president, a strategic department that would be used to transport Africans to Russia. To substantiate this, we obtained a document issued to a former Special Forces officer in Kenya who was granted a visit visa that would lead him into the Russian military. The visa was scheduled for 20th April 2025 to 4th May 2025, intended as a 14-day visa. However, Reagan never returned to Kenya. Instead, he was absorbed into the Russian army, sustained injuries and remained in Russia. He reportedly received compensation for his injury.
I knew very well that war is dangerous, and the defense guys that approached me, and I referred them to these Russian, were fully aware. I even asked them, what happens if you guys die? They were saying, that's our job. We either kill or get killed. That was their response.
Our investigations further revealed a disturbing pattern that the government of Kenya and the Russian embassy were fully aware of the export of Kenyans to Russia. This document from the head of consular shared names of 23 individuals whom we have confirmed to be part of the recruits who went to serve in the Russian army. Statements from individuals rescued by police before being trafficked in October detailed what transpired and with those involved in the syndicate. From the statements, the scam typically begins with a trusted contact, a friend, relative, or former colleague dangling tales of opportunity. The dossier exposes a loosely organized syndicate operating with a network of middlemen, each playing a distinct role in a wider scheme. An agency, Talent Shepherd, located opposite Kasarani police station, was responsible for luring recruits with promises of security jobs. 4 other men and women are named as being in charge of issues including medical procedures that were handled at Inspokea Hospital in Nairobi, transport logistics and international operations to recruit from countries such as Turkey. Edward Gituku, who was later arrested in raids, controlled apartments, confiscated passports and coordinated flights. We have also established and obtained a Russian military contract. It specifies the parties involved, the Russian Federation, represented by the head of specific military units. In this case, Captain A. Arsiat, among the obligation being ensuring the provision of military service to military personnel in accordance with the Article 11 of the Federal Law number 76 FZ for the duration of military service or payment of monetary compensation from the federal budget. The term of military service or personnel set at 5 years or more, excluding the time of training.
The contract highlights everything. The terms of service. In case of injury, for instance, we have guys who already got injuries. I know quite a number of them, and they have been compensated. Yeah, we have guys who had some serious injuries, who are hospitalized in various parts of Russia, and they have also been paid. And we also have a scenario whereby someone is deceased or they lose their life during combat operations. The contract also indicates that they get compensated. I don't have the exact figure, but I'm told it's around 13 million Kenyan shillings.
We wanted to know who are the receivers of Kenyan recruits in Russia. Investigations landed on this document dated 23rd September 2025 that a flight landed in Moscow. On board, 2 men from Africa foreign citizens scheduled to report for military service in Russia. Their names, Obori Dennis Bagaka and Magero Jeremiah Orio. Both were expected to arrive at the military service selection point in Yuroslav Unit 2. The letter is clear. It lists their identities, their passports, their flight details, even names the officers responsible for receiving them. Zakipov Zumagat Abdimalikovich and Lieutenant Loskutov Alexander Sergeyevich. This is the address where the recruits were supposed to report. The military service selection point category 2, headed by Major A. Kuznetov. But according to multiple sources, the whereabouts of Omburi and Magero are scanty. 2 men, 2 passports, 1 flight, a paper trail that ends abruptly. Were Ombori Dennis Bagaka and Magero Jeremiah Orio lost in bureaucracy, intercepted by another agency, or victims of something darker? This narrative exposes a common lure: salaries far exceeding Kenyan norms, targeting the unemployed or unpaid, often with military backgrounds for security roles that mask combat duties. Once hooked, victims pay processing fee ranging from 15,000 to 70,000 for medicals, visa, and accommodation. Passports are collected, sometimes expedited via insiders at Nyayo House for extra bribes. Recruits are then headed to holding sites, primarily Great Wall Gardens Estate in Athi River, Mavoko.
The reason as why we have all these problems in the country, in the media and everywhere, is because people who have nothing, no information about the military, are rushing and joining into military. It's a very risky affair.
Statements describe overcrowded apartments, 7 to 14 people in 2 or 3 bedroomed units, with basic food provided by caretakers. Here, they await flights, signing vague contracts deducting commissions from future earnings. Edward, a central figure, holds meetings, collects shoe sizes for uniforms, and assures imminent departure. But the truth emerges in interrogations. Jobs are for Russia's military in Ukraine. Victims learn post-raid that Kenyans in Russia were not doing well and some had been injured. One group, per statement, flew via Turkish Airlines to Moscow on September 17, 2025, only to be detained at the airport, passports seized, and deported back via Turkey after 18 hours, arriving empty-handed on September 20th, 2025. Raids rescued over 22 Kenyans across apartments, with victims instructed to report to DCI headquarters for statements. Edward faced charges of trafficking in person, yet some slipped through. Statements mention groups flying out days before raids, like 113 officers listed in one account. Russian government has so far denied Lyapin being an employee of Russian government bodies and does not work at the Russian embassy in Nairobi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and I have the
National Intelligence report tabled in Parliament discloses that close to 1,000 estimated to be in Russia did not travel from Kenya.
39 are hospitalized, 30 have been repatriated, 28 are missing in action, 35 deployed in camps or bases, 89 are on the front line, 1 is detained, and 1 has completed the contract.
Red says up to 2,000 Kenyans would have ended up in Russia. On the surface, it looked like an opportunity to escape unemployment, but beneath the veneer lay a machinery of corruption fueled by bribes.
Kenyans are also going to Ukraine. I can give you 6 that I know who joined the Ukrainian army, and the procedure is a bit different from the Russian one, because for Ukraine they don't have e-visa for Kenya, so you have to obtain the visa from the embassy, just the normal visa that you process through the embassy. For Russia, you don't have to go to the embassy, you just go online, a few clicks here and there, you have the visa.
The scandal exposes more than just corruption. It reveals a system where officials entrusted with safeguarding citizens instead exploit them. Each bribe was not just money exchanged. It was a betrayal of trust, a sale of dignity, a perpetuation of inequality. Now, with the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi set to visit Russia in the coming week, it is expected much more is to come for in the saga that continues to unfold.
Sasa tumechoka na Ruto. Yaani tumechoka. Motherfucker. Kama ni Ruto tutaki president wake bana. Hakuna kazi. Yaani tunakula msoto. Tunakula msoto. Sasa kwa nini tuwe na rais kama wewe bana? Mimi nimesema kama hizi salamu zikufikie bwana rais, tumechoka na wewe.
Ati black chocolate ni fine melanin bana kutoka nikapate. Kanapenda kenye mi wanapenda, so kanapenda toto chupa na haga nono.
Madam na kudai, umedunga mini na unapenda mangwai. Una dance fit, unawacha nikismile. Ama niko high, jua lies ime nice.
Kono moja mbele, gini yenderembe. Pile up, yoni